Good morning, students. I hope you all are well and safe at home. So, here I am with my lecture number 30 of Commercial Studies, class ninth. Students, in this video, I shall be explaining you chapter number 9, Public Sector Enterprises. Just for this chapter, already I have made one video, and those who have not seen that video yet, kindly first see that. So in the previous video I have started the chapter number 9 and I have explained you the meaning of public sector enterprises, its features as well as the merits of public sector enterprises. So in this video I shall be covering the remaining topics of this chapter. So let's proceed to the topic number 1, that is arguments against public enterprises. Now in this topic, arguments against means we are talking about the demerits. So please don't get confused if the question comes about the demerits of public enterprises. The question can come in either way, so don't get confused. Now the first point is poor project planning. Public enterprises are often established without proper evaluation. Poor project planning and lack of clear cut objectives hamper their progress. Now, often the main disadvantage of the public enterprises is that there is a lack of proper and foolproof planning. Proper planning is not done before the setting of the public enterprises, and therefore many of the public enterprises cannot just run in losses. Many of the public enterprises run in losses because there is a lack of proper planning and proper evaluation also. No proper evaluation is done before setting anything, and if suppose if a public enterprise wants to invest in some project, so not proper evaluation is done, and therefore it hampers their progress. So many a times you must have seen that often the public enterprises are in losses because there is a lack of poor planning. So second point is time and cost overruns. So often it has been seen that public sector projects, projects in which the public sector has invested, are often not completed on time. They are often delayed, and delays in the establishment leads to sharp increase in the cost of construction. So often, suppose a project is taken by the public enterprise that is to be completed in suppose 5 years, but often the project is the time of the project is often delayed, and that delayed leads to the rise in the cost of construction, because the fixed cost will remain. Like if you are, suppose if the project is delayed, so you have to hire more, so you have to hire the laborers for more time. You have to hire the laborers, you have to pay the electricity bill, you have to pay the machinery cost for more time. So that will lead to the increase in the cost of production, and thereby their profits starts declining. So that is another disadvantage of the public enterprises, that often the projects invested by the public enterprises gets delayed, and this delays leads to the increase in the cost of construction. Just I hope so all these 2 points are clear to you. Coming to the point number third, that is inefficient management. Now this is also one of the main disadvantage of the public enterprise, that often the management, the progress of the public enterprise gets hampered because of the inefficiency of management, and the efficiency of management is low due to the uninspiring leadership and absence of dedicated staff. Because the public enterprises, they are simply getting the salary. There is no dedication, there is no urge to earn the profit, because they simply regard themselves as the mere employees of the company. and unless you have the proper dedication to earn the profit, the company cannot survive for long. Just in case of uh, private company often earn more profits. The reason is this: because the leadership is strong, the employees in that company are motivated to earn profit, and if the employees does any wrong thing, they are also questionable. But in the public enterprises, it's not such thing. They are not answerable to anyone unless they make a major mistake. Leadership is also not very strong, and staff is also not a dedicated one. So these all the points leads to the inefficiency, just leads to the inefficiency in management, which hampers the growth and the progress of the public enterprises. Hope you have got this point. Now, fourth point is labor trouble. Public enterprises frequently face strikes, lockouts, and other labor problems, and they try to put the pressure on the enterprises. So often, labor in a public enterprises, they are often faced with the strikes. Strikes means when the employees refuses to do the work. Strikes means when the employees just faces refuses to do the work, that is known as strikes. Lockouts means when the producers lock the factories and the industries. When the owners lock and refuses the employees to make them work, that is known as lockout. So all these problems are the labor problems, and that also hampers the progress and the growth of the industries. So fifth point is your poor returns. Most of the public enterprise fails to earn reasonable profit on the investment, and the reason for this is because there is a lack of inefficiency in management, which we have discussed above in the third point. The reason can be there is no urge to participate. The reason sometimes can be because the public enterprises, their main motive is to help the people. So sometimes for helping the people, that public enterprise need not to think about the profit, so that leads to the poor returns, that most of the public enterprise fails to get the proper return on the investment, which the private entrepreneurs can easily do it. So that is the cause for the suffering losses for the public enterprises. So we have discussed 5 points. Hope you have got all the 5 points. Just if not, just mention in the comment section. So next topic we are going to proceed, that is forms of public enterprise. Now in this just in our country, there are three forms of the public enterprise. First is your departmental undertakings. Second is a statutory, which is also known as public corporation. So don't get confused. Remember the other name of that statutory companies also. And the last one is a government companies. So in this chapter, we are going to discuss these topics in detail. And students, this chapter is very much important as well as very big chapter also. So try to concentrate on every topic which I am teaching to you. So let's proceed. See, in the next slide I have given you the examples of each forms of public sector enterprise which you need to know. These are the examples of public sector enterprise. For every heading I have given you the various examples. You can learn any two examples, whichever you want. So the first, talking about departmental undertakings, what are the examples? We will study in detail about each and every form later on, but first let us go through the examples. In departmental, railways is there, post and telegraph, telephone, broadcasting, defense establishment, atomic energy projects. So these are the examples of the departmental undertakings, and you can learn any two examples out of these many examples given. Now public enterprises, public or statutory corporations examples are Reserve Bank of India, Damodar Valley Corporation, your Life Insurance Corporation of India, Employee State Insurance. So all these, you know, which are governed by law, they come under public or statutory corporations. Government companies, the companies which established, just in which 51% of the share is held by the government, that companies are known as government company. So Hindustan Steel Limited, Hindustan Machine Tools, Hindustan Shipyard, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, and Hindustan Aircraft Limited. Just in this, you can include any other examples also if you want. You can write any other example of government companies. So these is the list of, you know, public sector enterprises. So let's study in detail about each forms of the public enterprises. First is a departmental undertaking. See now, departmental undertaking is the oldest and a traditional form of the public sector enterprises. It is the one of the oldest as well as the traditional form of the public sector enterprise, and it's organized, financed, and controlled in the same way as the government department, and it may be run either by central government or the state government. So this, this form doesn't have any proper definition. These are only the features which are given in the, definition part. So we can say that it is one of the oldest as well as a traditional form of the public sector enterprises, and it is, controlled and functioned in the same way as the government company runs. There is hardly any difference in the government company and departmental undertakings, but still some differences are there, and that is why it is the form of the public sector enterprise. Now it may be run either by central government also, or it can be state government also, depending on the situation. Hope you have got the definition. It's not very difficult. Coming to our last topic of this video, that is features of departmental undertakings. Just in this topic I have given 4 features. You can learn any 3 features, whichever you want. First is it established by central or state government, which I have told you in the definition part also. It can be established by central government also, or it can be established by state government also. Second one, it is the part of the government and has no separate legal entity. Now departmental undertaking is a part of the government, and if any, and it has no separate legal entity. This term we have already discussed in many chapters, from chapter number 5, 6, 7 and 8 also. Hope you have got this term. Separate legal entity means the owner. In this term means owner and the members are considered as different members are there. So there is no separate legal entity, means the owners and the members are same in this. Same. Then it is financed from the government budget. All the appropriations, all the money invested in the departmental undertakings, all the money spent, just incurred in the departmental undertaking, is financed, is provided from the government budget. A separate budget is passed for the departmental undertakings. Now fourth one point is it is under the direct control of the departmental head. One departmental head is there who supervise all the activities of the departmental undertakings, and he is only responsible for all the, activities, whether the undertaking is earning profit, so how can the profit be improved, or if the company is suffering a loss, and how the losses could be avoided. So all these, decisions are taken by the departmental head. So these are the features. Hope you have got all the features. So this was the end of this video. Hope you have got all the topics, and if you have any problem, just mention in the comment section and feel free to ask. So keep on revising, students, and have a nice day.